Breaking news coming in. Israel's cabinet has approved a ceasefire deal with the Hamas militant group that would bring a temporary halt to a devastating war that's stretched now for 6 weeks. Under the deal, which is going to take place over 4 days, Hamas is to free 50 of roughly 240 hostages it's been holding in the Gaza Strip. And that is going to take place, like I mentioned, over a period of 4 days. The Israeli government has gone on to say that it would extend the lull by an additional day for every 10 hostages released. Ahead of this, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has gone on to say that Israel would resume its offensive against Hamas after the ceasefire expires. Do remember, this is a 4-day deal. This is a 4-day deal in exchange for 50 Israeli hostages, which have out of the 240 hostages which are there in the Gaza Strip. To get more on this, we have Kadamni joining us. Kadamni, this deal that's brokered by Qatar includes the release of 50 hostages in exchange for the release of 150 Palestinians held prisoner in Israel. Now, these groups will be broken into 12 to 13 hostages per day. Is that right?
Well, over 4 days, yes, over 4 days, around 50 of these Israeli hostages will be released. We are learning that there won't be any soldiers in it, but women and children. We know that more than 30 children have been also hostages for almost 6 weeks now, and they will be released over a period of 4 days, and additional 10 hostages. Benjamin Netanyahu has said he will extend the truce, the ceasefire, for 1 more day. So, and also 150 Palestinian prisoners will be released. Now, this is something which Hamas had been asking from the very beginning. They had said that there are thousands of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons and they need to be released. Now, those who are being released would be minors and women from Israeli prisons. Well, when this has happened, there was a war cabinet yesterday. The meeting went on for more than 7 hours, and then this deal was reached. And I can tell you that Benjamin Netanyahu had said that this is a ceasefire. Now, we have been hearing about humanitarian truce. This is not a humanitarian truce, but it's a ceasefire where 4 to 5 days ceasefire would come into effect. The date when it will come to effect is not clear. When the voting took place this morning, Wednesday morning, 3 ministers of the far-right Jewish Power Party, they were the only members who voted against, only members of cabinet who voted against this deal. 3 ministers of far-right religious Zionist party had threatened that they would vote against it, but they changed their mind afterwards. And Benjamin Netanyahu has said that until Hamas is destroyed, all the hostages released, and there is nobody in Gaza who can threaten Israel. This war will go on. But first of all, now there will be a 4-day ceasefire. He also said that he had spoken to President Biden about in recent days, because
there are also reports that are suggesting that there may be 30 more hostages that might be released, and that pause in fighting could be extended, like you mentioned.
Well, there are several reports coming in, and the most important thing is there have been several protests in Israel. There have been demands in Israel about return of hostages first, and there were also protests about the statements given by some of the cabinet members in Israel about the war. So this has been a pressure point for a long time. Even Benjamin Netanyahu has come under criticism regarding this deal. It was said that this could have been reached even before this war has gone on to kill thousands in Gaza. So now it is being said that because President Biden leaned on him, Benjamin Netanyahu, and now this deal has been made, and Benjamin Netanyahu is saying that he waited this long so that he could get the best deal out of it. So what will happen over next 24 hours is that the names of the Palestinian prisoners will be released, will be made public, so that Israeli citizens can also appeal against it to the court. And it is being said that Israel will not release Palestinian prisoners who have been convicted of killing Israelis. So this is also there. So now when the hostages exchange or prisoner exchange will take place is not clear. The date is not clear. But of course, this is a huge breakthrough in this, because we have to remember that almost 240 hostages were taken on 7th of October when Hamas terrorists attacked Israeli civilians in the border areas.
Kadamni,
And some of the hostages are also believed to be killed.
You're talking about this delay and this delay of a 24-hour waiting period before it is implemented, like you mentioned. So reports are also suggesting that the first release of hostages could be as early as tomorrow.
Well, it is very much possible because, as I said, Benjamin Netanyahu is under immense pressure from his own citizens, the families whose members have been taken hostages, and others who have seen the war stretch for 6 weeks, but no sign of hostages being released, negotiations not going anywhere. So now, with the intervention of US and Qatar, which has been continuously negotiating and which had been negotiating from the very first day for the release of hostages, now we are seeing after 6 weeks of this war, the hostages will be released, and one of the first conditions which Hamas had put out about release of prisoners, the Palestinian prisoners, that is being accepted, and this is 150 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails, and these are not the only Palestinian prisoners. There are believed to be thousands of Palestinian prisoners, but these would be women and minors who have not been accused of, who are not facing the charges of killing Israeli citizens. Divya?
Right. Thank you so much, Kadamni. And like you were mentioning, there is a 24-hour waiting period before this is implemented in order to give Israeli citizens a chance to ask the Supreme Court to block the release of the Palestinian prisoners. Do remember, it's a swap, 150 Palestinian prisoners in exchange for the 50 hostages that are being held from the Israeli side in the Gaza Strip.